Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to MTTS We're here to look at CHL, which is China Mobile Ltd SP ADR. And what is China Mobile? It's one of the largest, biggest Chinese mobile providers in China, and we have seen the telecommunication industry as a whole is doing very strong. So what is up with China Mobile Ltd? Well, one of the biggest things is they have a big surplus of cash that is available, but the investors in China and internationally, including the US, are assuming that this cash, this free flow of cash, is not going to go back into the stock and is actually going to be put back to other uses for R&D and other resources, so they don't see this money coming back into the company in a way that will help the individual investors see more returns in their stock. Well, looking at a technical analysis viewpoint, we could see a lot from that. So we don't need to rely strictly on what is the fundamentals going to do, what is the CEO going to do. We can look to the technicals and find a lot of stability and support for there. So you see here 50.08 seems to be the bottom, but let's move to a 5-year weekly chart so we can see a bigger time frame picture. Now, a quick tool I like to use is the Fibonacci retracement, which looks like a percentage sign. So what we could do is draw from the low at 41.35 to the high at 75.52. So let's check this on the chart. So we're going to draw the low at 41.35, and we're going to draw the high at 75.52. Some people could just round to 75.50, but I like to follow with what the stock does in the actual movement so we can get a real set stone of what's going on. So you see here 48.66 seems to be the next level of support. And seeing here, this goes back to 3 years, and this would be around the year 2014, which we see here going back on this 5-year chart. Looking at it from a weekly standpoint, where each candle represents 1 week in the chart, we see here 48.66 seems to have a very strong level of support for the stock, and that's the scene where its recent bottom happened in around 50. But if we see here, 48 would be the next level that we really look to see, 48.65. Well, what's between that? What's lower than that? So let's draw in an extra tool to see where we could find an extra level of support and resistance. Looking here, we could see there's a clear level of support at around the 46. Let's zoom in so we can see clearly what we're looking at. 46. I want to find 3 candles. Remember that we're always looking for 3 candles. And let's see. I think 46.75 would be a good area for another level of resistance. And so what I'm going to do is edit properties. Let's just, so we signify a difference, let's just make the support line purple, just so it's easier to read. And we're going to do 46.75. That's the next level I see based off of this, that we can see a retracement to another low. And looking at this, we see 46.75 is actually a really good place for this thing to bounce off of. So 46.75. Well, what's lower than that? What can we go below that? Well, let's find another level that can go below. It seems that this industry, if it continues down on its current trend, and we actually could see here, overall, there's actually a head and shoulders pattern on the top. Here's the first shoulder, here's the head, as well as here's the other shoulder. And we could see here what actually trajectory normally happens after a head and shoulders is we see a bottoming, and that's where we got this right shoulder led to a bottom, and that's where we got to around the $50 area. And now we've seen a recent move from, that was from December 16, and then following that we've seen a continued channel trend trading between the $50 area to the $62 area, and it seems to resolve lower. So actually looking at this, we see another head and shoulders. Right here's the left shoulder, here's the head, and here's the right shoulder. And following that, we see a decline in the stock after a failed attempt to bounce off of its lows. So very important to keep in mind when we're tracking this. And so what's the next level of support? Well, I think the level we're looking for is going to have to find at least 3 candles. So let's look for 3 candles that we can find for support. I think 45 seems to be a key. Let's see. I like the level of 45.25. So let's draw let's draw this support line at 45.25. Okay. Okay, cool. So now we got some near-term areas that we could see the stock bounce off of. And if it reaches this level, we could really see some very big pullback, and I would assume to see a lot of buying in this area. Now, following this lower, well, what's the level this thing could bottom out at? Let's look to see where we could find some candles that will help us find some support. I like the 44.60 area. See, there's about 1, 2, and it passes through this candle. And so I like that area for a level of support. Okay, so we're going to change that to purple because we identified purple as our way to look at the support. Okay, so we got 3 levels of support. We got 46.75, 45.25, 44.60. We could just do 44, yeah, 44.60, that's good. And finally, well, Eric, let's see it's going to go lower. What's the level it's going to go out? I don't think it's going to go to 41.35, but let's put it halfway through this candle, and it'll match up with this bottom trend of the other candle, the lower shadow. So what do we got? 42.75. Okay. Key level, and we're going to extend to the left. Edit properties, and remember, we always want to see the price, so always add. So we got 3 or 4 levels of support for the near-term trend. Well, Eric, I don't think it's going to drop to, let's say, 46.75. What's a closer area where I can stock an entry? Well, I like the area where we always can find 3 candlesticks. Remember that. So where I see that happening the most, in my eyes, is going to be around, I want to say around in the 49 area. I want to find something in the 49 area. 49. Let's see. Remember, I want 3 candles to find. This looks like a good area. Ah, great. Let's see. Let's line it up with that red third candle. There we go. And right here, let's see what price we got. We got 49.50. Let's try 49.55, and let's make this candle yellow to signify an uptrend. Oh, sorry, the support. We want to make that purple because we were using purple for all our support lines. So we see here, based off of the stock, we got 49.55 is our next level. Now, 49.55 is a key level that I think the stock needs to retest and break below if we want to see a continued support trend up, or as a key level to see whether or not this continues downwards in our possession. Okay, so 49.55, and if we want to be extra cute, we could do 49.50. It's up to you. I choose to do 49.55 because I've seen a long couple candles around there, but let's do 49.50 to be exact. Now, saying this, now we have the bottom of the support for the stock. Now, how do we trend the upward resistance? Well, we could use the Fibonacci levels that were already given to us, but let's try to find some extra ones just to see if we're missing out on anything. And now we can dip back into the 1-year daily candle to see what we can find as our next term of resistance. So bottom line, we already see a couple good things. We got right here, there seems to be a buy indicator, as well as right here, there seems to be a lot of support before a recent shot back up. So we want to find this happy medium between all these levels. So let's chart this. Let's see. I like this level right here, 51.65. I think this will be a good area for it to retrace back higher. And now we could take out the Fibonacci because we already kind of showed what we want to do with that. So let's just take this out. Alright, so now we can draw without any worry and draw our own trend lines, see how they line up with the Fibonacci at the end. This right here, it looks like another very key level, 53.85. 53.85 would be another key level that I look to see this pop higher. Now, considering that this is the Chinese stock, this could easily move higher given volatility, and I could see that easily happening within this stock. And we have tons of volatility shifts in the last few months based on the kurtosis. Kurtosis is actually at one of its lowest levels of this stock. So if we see a pop higher, expect the kurtosis indicator to shoot way above 0, and that would give us an indicator that the stock is headed back higher and headed to a new high from its recent downtrend. So now what's the next level of trend line that I look for? Well, 54.70 seems to be a really good key area that I really like. Because I see 3 lines trending up. 3 lines, so let's see. Edit properties on the right, left extension on. Now let's see, where does this line up? We see touches right here, touches right here, touches through here, touches through here, touches this signal, touches this doji, touches this inverted, touches this hammer signal. And so we got 1, 2, and 3 levels of price confirmation. Now, well, Eric, I see what you're saying, but I want to see a shorter term bounce. What's besides 53.80 can we look to next? Well, let's see. I like the area of this gap right here. Let's look at this gap. See how this stock gap down from this level? So I like to look at that as a key level of support. Resistance. So let's chart that. 52.45 seems to be another key level of resistance that the stock needs to break above. So looking at this, let's chart that. So 52.45, we see 52.45 is the key level for the stock to break through following 51.65. Well, I don't think it's going to go to 52.45, and I don't see it staying at 51. So where is it going to meet? What's the happy medium between these two levels? I see 52 flat. Let's set 52 flat as a good halfway point for this uptrend. So let's say we're not expecting it to have a crazy bounce, but we expect it to have a moderate level bounce. So we would use 52 as our key area of trigger. And once again, where are we finding these levels? We're using the candlesticks to help find the point of entry for these things. And we look at the upper shadow or the lower shadow. Where does it touch? Where does its bottom or high? And we see this 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So we have a good confirmation for that high as well as that movement. Well, what's the most short-term trend we can find for the upward momentum? Well, I like to look at the level of 51 flat. I think 51 flat is an area that we can look to see this stock hold above, and it needs to hold above 51. To keep in mind, for this rally to actually have any legs, we need this actually to show a real reversal, because right now it just looks like a falling knife. The stock is simply falling without retracing back higher. So we need to keep that in mind anytime we're looking at this stock when we're trying to find and stock an entry. 51 is where my next price target will be, looking for this stock to go long. And once it holds 51, we can finally see some more direction and really see where the stock is going to go next. So let's retrace back to the 5-year weekly chart, and now we see how we're able to strictly really make support and resistance lines and really clearly know in the future of how we can trend trade the stock. So what I'll do is I'll set alert for $51. So I'll create alert, and I'm going to put this above 51. So if the stock breaks above 51, I know it's a confirmed that it is on its breakout. Well, what's its price level for I want it to break below? And I think that it's either going to be a good entry to stock for a long or to go short the stock for a continued lower. I think 49.50 is a key area where we're going to have to look into. And what's the last level of support that I think we might have left out just to keep in mind and create an alert for? Well, I like the level below 49.5. So we need to find a medium between 49.5 and 46.75. And where do I see that level? I see it at 48 point, let's see, 48.5. 48.5. So 48.5 is the last level we want to see it break below. So if we see the stock break below 49.5 and not hold this price and then dip below to into the 48 region, we want to see how it reacts to 48.5. So let's keep that level as a key level of support to see how it reacts to that price level. And if it shows that it can resolve back higher, then the stock has some upward momentum and might actually be starting its real reversal, which could be due to, in fact, of how the organization and the management is actually handling its surplus of money. Maybe they decide, hey, we're going to put that money back into the stock. We decided that the investors do matter and their voice does matter, and we need to incorporate their decision making into the process. Or it could go lower because they decide to pay bonuses to the CEOs, or they decide to put in R&D, which really has no effect on the actual momentum of the stock and is actually seen in times where the stock actually has a surplus to be merely just a way to lure the cash away from the investors. So you see how we could draw support and resistance lines as well as use Fibonacci to reconfirm our price levels that we had created. Anyway, I'll leave you with that and have a great weekend.